Okay, so good morning, everybody, and welcome to our In Conversation With series with the wonderful Lizebeth Koloko-Green. For those of you who might not have had the chance to meet Lizebeth before, I've had the opportunity and pleasure to know her now for a number of years. She supported our annual Learning and Development Conference many times. She's run multiple webinars online for our members and is highly regarded within the PAEA profession and executive business support as an absolute Microsoft guru. So it really is wonderful to be able to spend some time with Lizebeth today. And Lizebeth is going to be providing a series of training and events for PA Forum members throughout 2022, which we're really excited about. So today we're going to learn a little bit more about Lizebeth, and it's wonderful to welcome you. So hi, Lizebeth, how are you doing?
Hi, Daniel. I'm doing very well, and thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited for this partnership with the Peer Forum.
Yeah, thank you so much. No, it's been wonderful. We've enjoyed partnerships with many people throughout time. It's just lovely that we can get to spend some time with you this year and find. I know you've been working incredibly hard, learning all the different things about Microsoft and how you can deliver such fantastic training. But before we talk about that, let's talk about you, Lizebeth. So tell us. I know you open up your sessions normally with a little bit of information about you. Tell us a little bit about you personally.
Yes. So I'm Lizebeth Koloko-Green. I grew up in Fremont, California, and I've been back in Paris for I've been in Paris now for about 20, or close to 20 years. I am a mother to a beautiful 9-year-old daughter named Aliyah. So I started off my career, as an executive assistant 20 years ago, and I was working for my dad's company, which was called Arita Computer System. And so this is actually where I really discovered the executive assistant job. And so it has been just a great journey. And after being an executive assistant at a radio computer system, I moved to Paris and I was an executive assistant at an IT company for 16 years. And I left that company 2 years ago to join another IT company here in Paris. And so yeah, it has been a great journey so far. And I became an entrepreneur in December 2020. I created my training company called ANWOW, which stands for Adopt New Ways of Working. So I'm an autodidact, so I'm self-taught. I'm very passionate about my profession, and I researched really and learned everything that I needed to know about breaking into the executive assistant role when I first started. And I love doing this role, and I also love being an entrepreneur.
Amazing. No, thank you so much. And what inspired you to become an executive assistant? Because obviously you've just told us there that you started working for your dad. How was that relationship? Because that must be quite challenging working for your family.
Yeah, it was really challenging in the beginning. I was still in high school, and in the U.S. at the time, I used to go to school from 6:30 in the morning, and then I would finish school at around 2:30 in the afternoon. And I used to play a little bit of sport. I was playing soccer, but then until like 5 p.m., and then from 5 until, so I was doing my homework and things like that. And then my dad said, my dad is an entrepreneur, and he always had that in him. And he told us, it's very important in life to learn about the business and to be an entrepreneur. So why don't you come over at the company with me, after you're done with your school and sport? Why don't you come over and help me out? And so I started, back then it wasn't called executive assistant. It was more called a secretary. So that's when I started really working with him, doing some back office, taking care of scheduling his meetings, and uh, you know um, also taking care of his invoices, and then also the customers, uh, emails and letters that he will receive. So I really started from there, so, and it
Yeah.
was a great experience. And I really enjoyed it.
Fantastic. I used to work for my dad, and my sister was my dad's office manager
Yeah,
as well. So I do understand and I appreciate what it's like to work with family, but
yeah.
you do learn so much because they equally feel as passionately about you do as your progression and your career. And they, try to do everything they can to give you the tools to kind of go into the big wide world, don't they? So
Yeah, I agree.
And what was it like work? Because you've worked for some absolutely huge IT companies as well. How was that transition for you? You know, IT is constantly evolving. Every day there's something new, isn't there?
Yeah, every day is something new. And when I started off, and when I moved to France close to 20 years ago, when I first started off at the company, I was actually the receptionist. And so I was only supposed to stay there for about 2 months. And then afterwards, they were looking for an executive assistant, and they asked me to come in for an interview. I didn't really know, back then I was very young, and I didn't really know, not that I didn't know what I was doing, but for me, I was like, well, I have nothing to lose. I'm just going to go for this interview. And see how it goes. And it went really well. They were really impressed. And it was just, amazing to work with all of, and I've stayed in that company for 16 years, but I've worked for all of the executive leaders, either, the general manager, the VP of sales, the VP of alliances, the VP of the sales engineers. So I really had a chance in the 16 years to work with, a large scope of people. And I learned so much from them. And sometimes even my manager, they would take me with them to their customer meetings. So I've learned so much from that environment, that has helped me out, even as I am today an entrepreneur. So it has helped me out a lot. Yeah.
And I think it's testament to them as well, because you seem to have been supported so much
Yeah.
through your journey to entrepreneurship as well by the company, haven't they? They've always, and you can see when you were talking about how you were at school all day, then you did sport, and then you
Yeah.
helped your dad. I think I always see the hours that you work, Lisbeth, and the amount of passion and energy that you put into everything that you do. So has that kind of ethos stayed with you, and were you grateful for that sort of support from them as well?
Yeah, it wasn't always easy in my previous role, because sometimes in France, the executive assistant role is not very valued as it is perhaps in the UK or in the US. But it was also up to me to show them that I can be that business partner. It was up to me to really show them the value that I can bring to the business. So it wasn't easy. I'm not going to say it was easy all the time, but as time went on, I really showed them the value that my role, our profession brings into the business. So it was easier, as
Yeah.
the years went by, and they really trusted me and started giving me. They started trusting me more with the things that they needed to do. So so for them to be able to focus on the more important task in their role. So it was.
Fantastic. And you still work full time, don't you?
I still work full time, and last year I'm currently pursuing a master's degree at the ISEC Business School, which is one of the top five or top six business school in Europe. So I'm pursuing a master's degree in management and operations. So I have a full time job. I'm also a mom, and I also am an entrepreneur, and I'm a student. So really managing all of that is not always easy, but it's really important for me to get that degree, particularly now that I'm an entrepreneur. I get to learn so much as well at school. And, I'm always moving around. So it's really important for me to really, hit the ground running whenever I get, whenever I do something. And so, yeah, I'm pursuing that degree, and will finish my studies at the end of this year. And hopefully in early next year, I will receive my master's degree.
I think it's really it's heartwarming, because when we speak to each other, I know how how much love you have for your family and how much passion. I mean, your daughter must look up to you a lot, and she must have a lot of respect for you. But I can also see that you always make time for family and what's important for you as well.
Yes, family is so important for me, and particularly now that since I became a mom, I learned that I had to scale down the things that uh, that uh, that I do. It's really important, and I think that the pandemic has been really hard for everybody, but I'm also being grateful that have had a chance to work from home. So I get a chance, every day at lunchtime, I get a chance to be with my daughter. We have lunch together, and I get to take her to school, and I get to you know um walk her home from school, And so you just seeing her evolve. Before I used to drop her off at school, and then she'll go to school all day, and then she'll go to the nanny, and then I'll pick her up. Now we have so much more time together. And the funny thing is, whenever I conduct a webinar, I always make sure that I test my microphone, that I test that everything is okay. So what I will do is I will send her a link. Maybe it can be either like a Zoom or a Teams link, and then she'll be in her room, and I'll be testing my microphone, and she'll tell me, Mom, no, you should move your screen to this side, and we can hear you really well. You should do this, you should do that. So she's also learning as
Yeah.
well. And the other day she came to me and she did a PowerPoint presentation, because she's seeing me, and she's doing, she did this great PowerPoint presentation. And she had my picture, and she had the list of the trainings that I do, and she had added the little Microsoft Outlook, PowerPoint, Teams icon, and she did animation and things like that. I was so I was so amazed. So yeah, it's been a challenging time for everybody. But COVID has also really helped me out a lot, because I've had the chance now to be able to work from home.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that with us as well. It's lovely. But I think when was the time for you where you thought, right, Microsoft Office is so important and there is so many things within Microsoft Office. When was the moment for you that you thought, I need to learn more about this, and where did you go to find out how you could find out more about the packages and what they could do?
So yeah, I've always been very passionate and curious about learning new technologies and resources, and how to improve my productivity and taking it to the next level. And so what fueled that in me is that my dad, his company it was an IT company, read a computer system, and he was like one of a Microsoft partner at the time. That was in the early 2000. And and my dad, he loves IT. And I remember that when I was 14 years old, we went to Fry's Electronic. For our American peers, they will know the Fry's Electronic stores, where you get all your computer hardware at the time. And we actually built my first computer together. So I've always been very passionate about it ever since then, in my teen years. And every day now, even now, I always set aside some dedicated distraction-free time to learn something new regarding technology. I read the user guides on different products. I view video tutorials provided by the resource developers, and I watch online trainings, and I use and also I always make sure that I train myself. So it's really important to learn about technology to be more efficient. And for me, in my job, and being as an entrepreneur, it helps me to be better, stronger, faster, and deliver results very quickly. And also I also certifications. So I have certifications in Microsoft Outlook, Word, OneNote, Excel, and PowerPoint. And the first time that I heard about certification was actually my dad who spoke to me about it, because he also had certifications as well. And he told me, you should also go ahead and pursue those certifications. And so I researched online, and, I signed up to go take a test here in Paris. And I also, at one point, joined Vicky Sokol Evans. She also has, a group where she trains executive assistant on how to pursue, certifications as well. So that has been helpful.
And how hard has it been? Has it been incredibly difficult? Because again, like we say, technology changes so fast. And I think at the moment we're going through the Microsoft Windows 11 upgrade,
Mhm.
and then suddenly there's new things to learn on there. There's new things that are happening. I mean, how difficult is it for you to keep up with everything?
Like I mentioned earlier, I enjoy learning about new technology, and every day I really set some time to really learn about these, all these new tools. There's so many, like you mentioned, the Microsoft program evolves so quickly, but I'm also so passionate about it. And so I spend so much time learning about it. And really, I would recommend is really, if you can, to really set some time to really, learn something new every day, and to learn about these programs, to learn, if you have access to to the user guide on the different products, to view the video tutorials on YouTube, and and to follow the Microsoft MVPs, the Microsoft most valuable players, also who are available on LinkedIn, or they also do videos also as well on um, on YouTube. It's really finding your passion. I don't watch TV. I don't even have a TV at home. I prefer to be on my computer, but it's me. I
Yeah.
love that. I love spending time learning about new things, and I also enjoy sharing my knowledge. So also, if you follow me on social media, I post regularly about these Microsoft products and all the different updates that are coming up in these different products as well.
Amazing. No, thank you, Lisbeth. And I know how passionate you are
Yeah.
about giving back to the profession. I mean, thank you so much if you're watching this to Lucy Brazier, who introduced
Yes.
me to Lisbeth many, many years ago. So thank you, Lucy. I know you try, to support as many different professional bodies as you can, Lisbeth, to give back that learning that you've got. Can you tell us about some of the, conferences that you've been part of, and how you've sort of supported businesses internally as well?
Yes. So, you mentioned Lucy, and I owe so much to Lucy. Lucy was, I met Lucy a couple of years ago actually at the Be the Ultimate Assistant training that was hosted by Bonnie Locraman and Vicky Sokolevin. And, I had followed Lucy for a very long time on social media, but this was my first time meeting her in Paris during the BTUA. And Lucy, she believed in me since day one. I remember during the BTUA, we had to present a 2-minute session on a tool that's really useful for us. And I did a 2-minute session on OneNote. And then Lucy came up to me at the end. She said, I love your presentation. And, would you be interested in giving trainings and things like that? And, coming from Lucy, I was so in shock. I was, because I followed her, and to me, she's just amazing. And so she really saw something in me, and she believed in me since day one. So I will forever be grateful to Lucy for that. And so Lucy really took me on this journey. She allowed me to be able to do many presentations in the executives secretary live global that she organizes, trainings, and also spoke at the Volunteer group back in 2018. Also, I regularly give training online as well. So I really, I immediately enjoy sharing my knowledge, and to my peer. It's really essential for me. It's really rejuvenating. Lucy introduced us, so I also was able to do a presentation at the peer forum as well. We did a training together, so I presented also, I think it was 2 years ago, on Microsoft Teams. It was when people really started to use Microsoft Teams. So you also believed in me, Daniel, from day one as well, and you gave me this opportunity to present to your network. So thank you for that as well. So I regularly, I'm part of IMA, which is the International Management Assistant Network. So I also, regularly give training also to IMA, and the French group. I'm also part of PENSA, which is the Platinum Assistant Network based out in South Africa. I am also a member of IAAP, which is the International Association of Administrative Professionals. And I'm also giving a training on Microsoft Teams in April. So, the network, I love networking. It's just, for me, it's pretty amazing because I get to meet so many wonderful people, and I love to be able to network and to share my knowledge, but also to learn from others. I think it's such an important thing for me. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think what's really what I loved was when you first did our conference, the feedback that we had afterwards and on the day was just watching people's faces go, wow, I had no idea that I could do that, or that's going to make my life so much easier. And always the amount of content that you give in your sessions, Elizabeth. Everyone's like, I've got to watch it back. How can I watch it back? And you always have so much to give as well, which is really kind. So yeah, so thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Thank
And
you.
obviously you'll be delivering a series of training sessions for our members this year, which we're really grateful for. If we do take the positives from COVID, it has opened up a world where we can work with you, although you're based in France. It doesn't
Yes.
matter. We can open up the world to a virtual learning community, which is just fantastic. And I think everyone is in that space now where virtual learning can sometimes be a lot more convenient for them. It's a lot more accessible, which is great. So we've got a number of sessions. So the first one is advanced teams. So can you tell us a little bit about that session and kind of what's included in the advanced team session?
Yes. So the advanced team is really how to. I want to be sharing some tips and tricks about mastering Microsoft Teams to collaborate and to communicate as a business partner. So by the end, so I'm going to be sharing some tips about how to manage your teams as a user, as an owner. How to customize your team. How to using the app mention, how to post a message, how to create a useful SharePoint page, how to moderate your channels, how to structure your files and folders, and how to use the chats and conversation in Teams, when and why you should use chats and the limitations and where to store your data. And I'm going to be also, sharing some, talking to you about Power Automate, which is, how to automate your repetitive task. So really, it's going to be really about tips and tricks about mastering your teams and collaborating and to communicate as a business partner. So really by the end of the course, you should be able to become an advanced team owner, to animate your team, how to tailor your chats versus your conversation. And, I'll be sharing some advanced tips for managing your team's interface and use it on a daily basis.
Amazing, thank you. And I think, as just exactly what we said, Teams is, we were all thrown into a world where use Teams, and people have had time now to kind of understand how to use Teams and what they might like to do it, but they might not understand the intricacies around about all the different things that Teams can provide for a really great working environment. So very exciting session. And then we've got taking notes. So is that going to be OneNote,
So
Lisbeth?
yeah, it's going to be OneNote. So OneNote is a tool that I've been using for more than 10 years now. And even my 9-year-old daughter uses OneNote. So OneNote is one of the unsung hero of the Microsoft Office suite. A lot of people don't know that it exists, even though it exists for, several years now. And OneNote is really your digital notebook. And so think about your physical notebook and think about the evolution to a digital notebook. So the OneNote session really, it's going to be upgrading your note-taking skills with OneNote. And so I'm going to be sharing some tips about, I'm going to be sharing some tips about the basic functionalities in OneNote, how to create a OneNote, how to share a OneNote, like what the different parts in the OneNote notebook, the sections and the pages and the subgroup. And I'm going to share, some tips about formatting options in OneNote, how to create and customize your template, how to use tags as well, how to capture your note. You can take handwritten notes, or you can type your notes, and how to screen capture and use speech to text in your note, and really to expand your note taking. And I'm going to share some tips about setting up and organizing your notes, how to, when you're in a meeting, how to actually access OneNote and take your meeting notes. And we're going to talk about a little bit about task management, because you can also create a to-do list in OneNote, and you can use Outlook tasks as well. And I'm also, so by the end of the session, you're going to learn how to structure your OneNote notebooks and sections and pages effectively. You're going to learn how to integrate OneNote with other programs in the Microsoft Office suite. And I'm going to share some tips about also using it on your mobile device. And at the end of the session, you also know how to optimize your task management using OneNote and Outlook, to get reminders on tasks and events. And really, so yeah, that's basically, so to summarize is really, I'm going to show you how to upgrade your note-taking skills in this digital age.
Amazing, thank you. And then obviously following on from that nicely is advanced email management. So again, we know we live in an ever-changing world where communication seems to be more and more frequent on email. So organization is key, and I guess that you're going to be sharing some lots of exciting tips to kind of help people manage their inbox in a really cool way.
Yes, I'm going to be sharing, some tips about, that will help you become a power user using Microsoft Outlook. So really, I'm going to, share some tips about how you can learn to stay on top of your emails and organize your inbox to focus on the really more important task and maintain inbox zero. Yes, that is possible. I'm going to show you some tips about, optimizing your agenda and saving time when you're scheduling meetings by using AI and apps such as Find Time and the virtual assistant called Cortana and Microsoft Bookings. And I'm going to share with you some tips to help you understand how you can actually benefit from the Outlook integration with other powerful tools such as Microsoft OneNote and Microsoft To Do to increase your productivity. So really by the end of the session, hopefully, once I've shared these tips and tricks, it will really help you to become a power user using Microsoft Outlook. And I'm going to be sharing tips about using Microsoft Outlook, the desktop version, but also the web version as well, because there's a lot of people don't use the web version, but Microsoft has been adding a lot of the new features on the web version of Outlook. So I'm going to be sharing tips on using both tools.
Fantastic, thank you. Before we move on to the final two sessions that you'll be delivering for us, you mentioned their AI, and you also mentioned, applications, etc., other applications within Microsoft. But how worried or concerned are you about, artificial intelligence, or do you see artificial intelligence as something that's really going to kind of complement the assistant role?
It's really a great question. I think that, you know, as you know, even if we use AI, I don't believe that AI will replace us, to be honest. I think that we'll actually using AI, I would recommend just using AI to really take on our repetitive tasks so that we can really focus on more, on more to become a business partner to our execs, because, taking on the repetitive task takes a lot of time. So I think that using AI to take on the repetitive tasks so that, so we can focus really on other tasks for our exec, So I think that
Embracing it.
so we can really take, so we can really focus on the more value added task for our execs, so I think that, they will not replace our job. Let's not forget that the humans are still better in professions where physical speed, creativity, and social interactions are central, and that requires emotional intelligence that AI doesn't have. So
Yeah.
it's important to note that, everything cannot be automated, and some things would never will. So, there is specific action, I believe, that will still remain in our control, such as negotiation and providing or original solution, so these are really far too unusual and essential for a robot or digital assistant to perform successfully. So I think it's important for us to really embrace the change. The scope of our role as administrative professional will change significantly. So we need to take this opportunity to take on a more strategic and leadership role to provide intellectual support to a manager to become business partner and to focus on other tasks such as project management and procurement, negotiating the contract. And we can help a manager learn how to use these technologies and assist them in conducting change management within their team. So really, AI will just allow us to save time and to focus on more complex tasks and actions. So will give us an opportunity to evolve a lot more in our role.
Amazing. No, thank you so much, Lizebeth. Appreciate that. I think the message there is embrace it, everybody.
Yes.
Embrace it. Yes, absolutely. So, and then we've got our final two sessions with you for 2022 will be managing tasks in 365.
Yes. So I'm going to be sharing some tips about, increasing your task management with the Office 365 tools and the different options. I'm going to share with you some tips about discovering the tools and options that are available in Office 365. So I'm going to be covering the tools. So Outlook, so you can manage your task using Outlook. You can also use OneNote, and you can also use Microsoft To Do. And also I'm going to talk about Microsoft Planner. And if we have time, I'm going to be speaking about Microsoft List. So really by the end of the session, you will discover, all these tools for, because there's some that you don't know about. I'm going to share some tips about managing your personal task, how to tailor your team's task, and really how to stay focused on task management. So yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. And then finally is the data management in 365.
Yes. So data management in 365, I'm going to be focusing on two tools. So I'm going to be focusing on OneDrive, which is your personal as a cloud storage. So I call it my me drive, or my me file, and SharePoint, which is, your team's file storage. So I call it the we file. So I'm going to be really sharing some tips about understanding and managing the options of file management in data management in Office 365. So I'm going to be sharing some, tips about discovering these two tools, how to share data easily internally, but also with external people outside of your organization, how to secure and back up your computer. That's really important. And really how to co-edit and view co-edit with other people, and how to view the version history of a document. So really in this session, you will understand how to manage the options of files and data management in Office 365.
Amazing. Thank you. But we've got a really exciting year ahead, Lizebeth. And then in January 2023, we'll be running the advanced team session again. But then I'm sure by that point, Lizebeth, there'll be some little more things to kind of add
Yes.
into that session as well.
Yes, and the funny thing is that, for example, in Microsoft Teams, there are updates on a monthly basis. So yes, last night I was giving a session on Microsoft Teams, and there's like this new tip that I learned yesterday morning, which I added to my session. So, for example, so honestly, even for the attendees that will, that will participate in the March session, I think it's in March when
Yeah.
we're starting, in 2023, my presentation will completely change, because there will be every month there are new features, and every month I'm updating my content. So yeah. So, I know that, the attendees that will come to the March session, they may even want to come to the other sessions as well, the other team session, because there's so many updates all the time. So
Yeah, absolutely. So really exciting year ahead.
yeah.
Really great to be partnering with you. And thank you so much for everything you've done for our members so far. It's it's always really welcomed, and you are really great to work with, Lizebeth. So thank you so much. And if we can leave kind of one thing for everybody, how are you feeling about January and the year ahead? What's your vision for this year? What do you want to achieve, and how are you going to kind of go and get that?
For me, for the year 2022, I think the most important thing really is our health. I
Yeah.
think that we know with the pandemic, I tested positive for COVID 2 weeks ago. My daughter as well, and it was really, it was really difficult, I have to admit. So really, the important thing in 2022 is really to be healthy and to be surrounded by our family, because things are changing so much. For me, family is a significant source of inspiration, and they're really, my family is my stalwart supporters. So really, be healthy, spending time with my family. And for me also, to continue to grow my business, I love helping others and empowering people. It's really another source of motivation. It really, I think it's essential to understand and empathize with people, and always try to be a positive person. And because it allows me to also instill some optimism into others when, they may need it the most. So I love, lending a hand and making people feel positive, upbeat, and energetic. and hopefully, and also for me, this year is also success. I hope to really develop my business, to obtain my master's degree. Really, success for me is an excellent source of motivation. And knowing the fact that my perseverance and hard work helped me achieve more significant professional and personal success keeps me going and motivates me to do a good job. And I also want to continue to learn new things. It gives me also an immense motivation. The fact that I'm, always adding to my knowledge base is a big positive for me. So,
Yeah.
you know,
I love that, Lizebeth. I think
it's
it's
really
a
important.
fantastic message to, to end our meeting
And I
today.
also wanted to say just one last thing. I also want to say really a big thank you to you, Daniel. You inspire us in the administrative community. You've been a role model, and you have given me an incredible opportunity, but also to others. And I'm honored, I'm blessed, and I'm overwhelmed with gratitude. So really special thank you to you for believing in me, for trusting me, for your support. So I'm forever grateful. So thank you, Daniel.
Oh, thank you, Lizebeth. I think, yeah, it was a really difficult day for me yesterday. I lost my nan and it was her
So
funeral
sorry.
yesterday. And yeah, so that really moves me. So thank you so much. I think like you, family for me is me, and family and friendship and everything means so much. And it's, I like you, that I want to give others the empowerment and want to be able to share that enthusiasm and that kind of uplifting
Yeah.
spirit to help the profession. So it's just wonderful, that we have these communities of people around us that are just all so giving and supportive and really want to help each other. So thank you so much. That means the world to me. I really
Thank
appreciate it.
you so much. And I also want to give a special shout out to my mentor, Vincent. He really has taught me, the tricks of the trade, which has really gone a long way to enhance my career. So I thank him every day for his guidance, support, and pearls of wisdom.
Oh, thank you, Vincent. I've had the chance to meet Vincent as
Yeah.
well. Wonderful man. So yeah, thank you so much. And wishing you all a fantastic 2022. Lizebeth, thank you so much. And we look forward to welcome you to your first session together in March. So thank
Thank
you,
you so much.
everybody.
Take care,
Take
everyone. A
care.
happy new year again.
Thank you.